Why do they have pictures of giant, enormous people-looking things with like a humanoid with it?
A tunnel under the Euphrates River cracked open, and what came out was not human. Inside were ancient bones longer than trucks, strange glowing weapons, and a sealed gate marked with symbols from every lost language on earth. The Euphrates is drying fast, and with every inch of water gone, something old and angry wakes up. Tune in, because the last seal just cracked, and something with fire in its chest is stepping through. A crack in the riverbed. The Euphrates River had been shrinking for years. Farmers blamed it on drought. Governments pointed fingers at upstream dams. But underneath the waterline, something else was waking up. Something buried. Something sealed. That's where the ground gave way. A secret tunnel opened with a loud sound, and what came out was something that should have stayed hidden forever. Old stone walls pressed tight against the earth, dry for the first time in thousands of years. It wasn't just a break in the ground. It was a doorway, a path, and no one knew where it led. At first, it was just local workers who spotted it. Then the scientists came, then the cameras. But not for long. The site got locked down fast. Military trucks rolled in, fences went up, satellites circled, no digging, no talking, just silence. But silence doesn't stop what's already moving. Inside the tunnel, there were carvings. Not recent, not familiar. These weren't like anything from old Babylon or Assyria. They were older, rougher, angry. Some looked like animals, others looked like men, but none of them were human. At least, not anymore. And on the wall, near the arch of the tunnel, one symbol kept repeating. A ring of fire, a wheel inside a star. The same one from old scripture. The same one seen in the visions of Ezekiel. The same one that shows up when things are about to get bad. Real bad. Further in, the tunnel split. One side collapsed from centuries of mud and weight. But the other? The air moved through it. Heavy, warm, thick like breath. Like something was waiting at the other end. That's when the noises started. Not voices, not animals. Something else. Deep moaning. Groans layered with screeches. Like metal twisting underwater. Like something in pain or angry. Scientists tried to brush it off as old cave acoustics, but the guards didn't buy it. Some walked off the job. Others stopped speaking altogether. They just stared, like they had seen something they weren't supposed to see. A few guards claimed they saw shadows in the tunnel that didn't match the lights. Shapes that walked against the wall. One man swore he saw something blink from inside the stone. His hands shook. He quit the next day. Then came the smell. Thick, rotten, like sulfur mixed with decay. Not from the ground, not from the air. From inside the tunnel. Like something dead and buried had started breathing again. The government said nothing. They just sealed the mouth of the tunnel with steel, welded it shut, posted no guards, only cameras. Like they didn't want anyone close, but also didn't want anyone to leave. That's when the video leaked. One blurry clip, just a few seconds, shot from a distance, but enough to see the truth. The tunnel was not empty. Something had moved near the back wall. Something big, with limbs like vines and a face that did not belong on Earth. People online called it a trick, an edit, a fake. But those who knew the Bible, those who watched the rivers and the skies, said this was a sign. Revelation 9:14. 4 angels, bound in chains beneath the great river Euphrates, waiting, watching, ready to be released. Was this the start? Some pastors cried from their pulpits. Some ran toward the tunnel. Others backed away from it. But all agreed something ancient had been disturbed. And whatever it was not happy. Then something worse happened. 3 workers vanished, all from the same dig team. Their names were wiped from the records. Their families were given money, told to stay quiet. But someone leaked the site logs. 3 men had been assigned to map the inner tunnel. None returned. Only the drones made it back. Covered in scratches. Deep, sharp, clean. One worker's boot was found days later, miles down the river, burned at the edges. But no fire had touched that area. No explosion, just the boot, sitting by the edge, like someone left it there, still warm. After that, the government brought in a different kind of team. Not scientists, not soldiers, black uniforms, unmarked trucks, equipment no one had ever seen before. They drilled deeper, past the tunnel, into the cave behind it, and that's when they hit it. Stone, not natural, carved, circular, sealed like a lid, covered in markings, horns, wings, eyes everywhere, watching. The team stopped drilling. They took samples and then they left. That night, a fire was seen burning inside the cave. Blue flames, no smoke. And when the sun came up, the entrance was gone, caved in. Or covered, no one could tell. But the river kept drying. More earth was showing, more cracks, more tunnels, more signs. And then the dreams began. People nearby began to report visions. Same dream, every time. A man in white, weeping blood, pointing toward the east. Behind him, 4 dark shapes rising from smoke, with eyes like lightning and chains around their necks. The same dream, over and over. Children, elders, even tourists felt it. Some woke screaming, others never woke up. Back at the tunnel, sensors were still active, and one night something changed. The ground shook. Not much, just a tremble. But the heat sensors spiked. The sound recorders went dead, and one camera caught the stone lid sliding open, on its own. No one touched it. No one commanded it. It just moved, like it was time. Some say the angels are waking. Others say demons are rising. Some believe it's both. But one thing is sure, the tunnel was never just a tunnel, it was a lock. And the key was time. Time just ran out. Something else was waiting under the next layer of earth. And this time, it had bones. The bones that shouldn't exist. The Euphrates River kept pulling back, shrinking a little more each day. Every time the water moved, the land gave up something hidden. But this time, it wasn't stone, or metal, or even something carved by people. It was bone. And not just any bone. Workers were digging around the old tunnel site, setting up new fences. It was normal work, nothing exciting. Then a machine hit something hard. At first, they thought it was a statue or a piece of an old building. But when they cleared away the mud, they saw it was a rib. It wasn't from a cow, and it wasn't from a person. This rib was longer than a truck tire and thick like a telephone pole. At first, the workers panicked. Then everything went quiet. Phones came out, people took pictures and videos. Some deleted what they caught, others shared it. In just a few hours, the site was shut down. But it was too late. The images had already spread. People started asking what kind of creature could leave behind bones that size. Archaeologists came back, working quietly and carefully. They didn't bring normal digging tools. They brought machines that looked like something from a hospital. They scanned the ground, moved slower, dug softer. That's when more bones started to show up. They found a skull with eye holes big enough to fit a football. They found teeth that curved like knives and fingers longer than shovels. These bones didn't match anything from the fossil record. It wasn't a dinosaur. It wasn't human. It wasn't anything science could explain. They laid out the full skeleton on a clean stone slab. It mostly looked like a person. 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. But it was huge, twisted and strange. The arms bent the wrong way. The joints were thick and had ridges. And right above the eyes on the skull, 2 horn-like points curved backward. Then came the real shock. They tested the DNA and the machines got confused. Part of it looked human, but other parts didn't match anything known. Some parts even looked like plant DNA. Some looked like insect DNA. One lab even said the sample wasn't real at all, but it was real. Some experts tried to say it was fake. Others said it could be a new species. But the ones who studied old books and ancient texts pointed to something else. They pointed to Genesis 6:4, the story of the Nephilim. Giants born when fallen angels mixed with human women. Powerful beings, full of violence, wiped out by the great flood. Or so people thought. Maybe they weren't destroyed. Maybe they were buried, trapped under rock and river mud. Not alive, not dead, just waiting. The Euphrates had been their grave, and now that grave was breaking open. Only a few days later, they found even more bones. Not just one giant, but many. Some skeletons had broken ribs, crushed skulls, and even ancient blades still stuck in the bones. It looked like they had fought, maybe each other, before being sealed away forever. But forever doesn't last long when a river dries up. Near the same spot, a worker found something else. It was wrapped in metal, shaped like a weapon. When they pulled it out, cleaned it, and tested it, the blade gave off a faint glow under special light. Strange symbols were burned into its side. Not letters, not numbers, just odd shapes that hurt to look at. The blade didn't rust. It didn't scratch. When one scientist touched it with his bare hand, he collapsed. He had seizures. He screamed about fire, wings, and something rising from the dust. He was taken away and never came back. The blade was locked inside a sealed box and taken away without photos or reports. But word still got out. People whispered that the blade belonged to a war between heaven and fallen beings. A war that ended with the giants buried under the river. A war that might never have truly ended. A local pastor came forward. He had studied ancient writings his whole life. He looked at the bones, the skull, and the symbols on the blade. Then he said 5 chilling words. The giants are waking up. After that, people couldn't sleep well. Strange dreams spread like wildfire. Dreams of tall shapes standing in the river, pointing toward the sky. Dreams of fire falling from above, of boiling water, of cities shaking apart. A young boy in a nearby village woke up screaming one night. All he said was, "The seals are breaking." No one had told him about the bones, the blade, or the tunnel. How did he know? The villagers stopped going near the water. They said they saw faces in the mud. They said the wind cried at night. Some said they saw figures walking along the dry riverbed when the sun went down. Scientists kept trying to explain it away. They said it was stress, heat stroke, mass fear. But not everyone believed that. Dr. Carter, a geologist who spent his life studying rivers and rocks, visited the site. He didn't believe in magic or monsters. He trusted science. But what he found at the site chilled him. The ground under the old tunnel was changing, fast. Natural tunnels were forming all around the sealed chamber. Cracks were opening deeper than expected. One crack pulsed with heat, even though there were no volcanoes nearby. When they lowered a thermal camera into the crack, the screen glitched. For just a second, it showed something that wasn't a rock or a root. It showed a face staring up. That night, Dr. Carter packed his gear and left. He never came back. But before he left, he wrote 3 words in his final report. They are coming. But the ground wasn't done giving up its past, because what came next wasn't buried deep. It was built to last. The Forbidden Door. The Euphrates River didn't stop pulling back. Each day, more of the riverbed showed. The wet mud turned dry and cracked like an old pot, left in the sun too long. From high above, the land looked like it had a deep scar. That scar stretched longer with every passing day, cutting across the ground like something was slicing the earth open on purpose. That's when they saw the gate. At first, it looked like just another rock wall, something shaped by nature. But the closer they got, the more it stood out. It wasn't natural. The shape was too perfect. It curved like a half circle, and the surface wasn't plain. Carvings covered it. Some were smooth and worn, but others looked fresh, deep and sharp, like something with claws had scratched them in. That's when they realized this wasn't a wall at all. It was a door. It had been sealed shut, buried under mud and stone for who knows how long. Around it, there was a circle of stone slabs. Every slab had strange symbols, but none matched anything from known history. These weren't words anyone could read, just shapes. Over and over, the same pictures appeared. Wheels, stars, wings, and eyes. The most frightening was at the center of the gate, a crown with horns, sitting in flames. No one could say how old it was, but everyone knew it didn't belong. A gate built this perfectly shouldn't have lasted so long under the river. And yet it had. Worse than that, it gave people a strange feeling, as if the gate wasn't just old, as if it was alive. When workers touched the stones to clean off the mud, their hands turned numb. When they sent in drones, they stopped working. The batteries were full and the cameras were brand new, but still, they shut off the moment they got close. Then came the sound. It wasn't from any speaker or machine. It came from the stone itself, a deep, low hum, like a heartbeat. Soft at first, then louder, not fast or wild, just steady, like someone or something was gently knocking from the inside. Word about the gate spread quickly. Some believed it might be an old temple. Others thought it was a secret tomb. A few even believed it was hiding ancient treasure. But the ones who knew the Bible had a different idea. They remembered something from the book of Revelation, chapter 9, verse 14. It talked about 4 angels, fallen ones, locked under the Euphrates, waiting to be released. And now people started to ask, could this be where they were kept? Was this stone gate not just a door, but a prison? No one had answers. But then, the dreams began. Not just the nearby villagers, even the scientists began having them. The same dream, every night. 4 tall shapes standing behind the gate. Too tall, too dark. Chains on their arms, fire in their eyes, and one voice that whispered the same line every time. When the river is gone, we rise. One scientist left without warning, packed nothing, didn't say a word. Another smashed his laptop and said he didn't want to look at the data again. But the others stayed. They set up lights, cameras, and machines to scan everything they could. Nothing worked right. Screens glitched, data vanished, and every photo turned out blurry, like something didn't want to be seen. Then the gate began to change. Early one morning they noticed the carvings were glowing. Not brightly, just a faint light, barely there, but enough to see. The horned crown at the top now had tiny cracks running through it. At first, they were like hairlines. Then they spread, widening, deepening. It was like something inside was pressing, trying to break out. They called for help. Government trucks showed up, soldiers, wires, satellites, tents. But it didn't matter. The gate kept cracking. Some tried to stop it. They poured concrete, but it crumbled like sand. They added thick steel plates, but they melted. Nothing held. At last, they built walls and posted guards. But none of it worked at night. From far away, people could see a glow rising from the earth, like a light shining out of the ground itself. That's when the shaking started again. It wasn't like an earthquake, it was slower, like something huge breathing under the dirt. Then an old man from a nearby village came forward. He carried an old scroll wrapped in worn leather. He said it had been passed down in his family for many generations. He opened the scroll and read aloud. The scroll spoke of watchers, ancient spirits that had been cast down and trapped under the earth. It warned of a gate hidden in the river that must never be touched. The writing ended with a message that chilled everyone who heard it. When the gate breaks, the winds will howl, the stars will fall, and the blood moon will rise. That night, the moon turned red. People panicked, the internet exploded. News channels ran special reports. Scientists said it was dust, or maybe ash from volcanoes. But the people who lived near the river, they knew better. They felt it in their bones. This wasn't just weather, it was a warning. And the next morning, the gate had cracked open. Not fully, just a small opening, but it was enough. From that crack came air that was thick and heavy. It smelled rotten. It felt warm, like smoke from something dead. The guards covered their faces. Some passed out. Some ran. The crack widened. Inside was nothing but blackness. No light made it through. No sound came back out. Just a steady thump, slow and deep, like a giant heart beating from somewhere below. They sent a drone inside. It didn't return. They tried again. The second drone got about 50 feet in. Then the screen went white. Just before it shut off, the last frame showed something. A tall shadow wrapped in chains. On the ground, something was written in glowing red lines. Time is broken. After that, they sealed off the area. No more digging, no more testing. But it was already too late. The Euphrates had shown its secret. The seal was cracked. The heartbeat had begun. And every day, the river pulled back even more. More dry land, more strange shapes, more signs. People started to leave. The towns nearby went quiet. The ones who stayed lit candles, locked their doors, prayed. But at night, the sounds came. They were louder now, crying, screaming, laughter, all mixed together, all coming from the gate. And the worst part? The gate was only the beginning. What it led to would change everything they thought they knew about the land beneath their feet, the city beneath the dust. The gate had opened, not all the way, but just enough. Enough for something old and buried to start waking up. Around it, the ground was sinking slow and steady, like the land itself was being pulled down. Cracks spread across the dry riverbed, not messy or random, but in straight lines, sharp like roads. It was clear something deep below was shifting. When scientists checked the satellite scans, they saw shapes under the surface. Circles, blocks, walls, what looked like streets. This wasn't caused by nature. This was a city, ancient, buried and forgotten, covered by mud, rock and time, hidden under the Euphrates River for thousands of years. And now it was starting to rise. Teams rushed to the site with radar gear and heat sensors. What they found didn't match anything they expected. The walls were too perfect. The angles were sharp. The stone looked untouched by age, like it had been frozen in time. As they mapped it out, a pattern formed. The streets ran straight. The buildings stood in perfect rows. And at the heart of it all, there was a huge fallen tower. Even collapsed, it stood taller than anything else underground. Around its base were carvings, circles, flames, wings, and one word nearly lost in the ancient writing, Babel. That name hit like a hammer. Babel, the city where humans once tried to build a tower to reach heaven. The city God stopped. The place where languages were split, where pride was punished. Could this be the place? Some experts said no. It was too far from where Babel was supposed to be. But others believed this was the true location, the first Babel, the one built by Nimrod, the rebel king who dared to challenge heaven itself. And if that was true, then something big had just been uncovered. As the digging went deeper, the discoveries grew stranger. They found tools made of metal no one could name, still sharp, still smooth. They found scrolls sealed in stone tubes, written in a language no one had seen before. The writing curled like vines and looked like it had been burned into the surface. Then came the rooms, chambers carved into the earth with walls full of drawings. Winged men, beasts, with eyes on their chests, stars falling, floods rising. And always, one figure in the middle, standing on a throne made of fire, with no face. People began to argue. Was this a god or a warning? And then they found the bones. Skeletons, unlike anything they had seen. Dozens of them, taller than people, stronger. The bones were thick like iron, the skulls long and sharp, the jaws full of strong teeth. Some of these giants were buried with weapons, hooked blades, axes and spears. This wasn't just a city, it was a fortress, and it was built for war. And now it was waking up. In one chamber they found a stone coffin bigger than a car. It was sealed tight and covered in writing from all the oldest languages: Babylonian, Hebrew, Sumerian, Egyptian. No one could open it. Every time they tried, things went wrong. Tools snapped, lights failed, people got sick. One man touched the stone and lost all feeling in his arm. But they kept trying, and that's when the storm came. During a lightning strike, everything changed. A bolt hit near the gate, lights flickered, cameras froze, and then every screen showed the same thing: the coffin, glowing. Something inside it moved. The image vanished. When the power came back, the coffin was still there, but now it had a crack along the top, thin, red, and warm to the touch. That night, guards swore they heard footsteps under the ground, slow, heavy, like someone or something was walking through stone. Then fire burst from a nearby vent in the earth. No fuel, no spark, just bright blue flames shooting into the air. It didn't spread, it didn't smoke, it just burned. Then, like it had never been there, it disappeared. Scientists were shaken. They tried to explain it with gas, heat, or magnets, but they couldn't explain why the fire had formed the shape of a crown before it faded. More workers left. Some refused to go near the gate. One man stood shouting from the book of Isaiah, "The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard." No one laughed. No one called him crazy. Everyone felt something was wrong. Then came the final discovery: a temple. Near the edge of the buried city stood a massive stone building, half broken, but still towering. Inside, statues lined the walls. Not people, not animals, but something between. Creatures with wings and claws, men with snakes for legs, women with fire in their eyes and halos made of blades. In the middle stood one statue taller than the rest, arms wide open. No face, just a mouth filled with sharp stone teeth. At its feet sat a bowl, and inside that bowl lay a black stone. It pulsed with light. No one dared to touch it. A camera zoomed in. Below the statue, scratched into the stone, were words no one wanted to read. "He who returns through fire shall open the sky." That was the last straw. The site was shut down. All teams pulled out. The government sealed the area again. But it was already too late. The Euphrates was dry. The gate was open, and the buried city had started to breathe. Locals swear the wind sounds different now, that it whispers at night, that no animal will go near the ruins, that the water tastes like ash, and that their dreams are full of marching giants and burning thrones. People want answers. They ask why now? Why is this city rising? Why are the bones, the fire, the gates, all waking up at the same time? Some say it's nature, or luck, or just time. But others, those who still read the old books, they say this isn't just a prophecy. They say it's a countdown. But countdowns always end. And what followed wasn't just louder, it was final. The trumpet in the dust. It started with the wind. A dry gust blew across the riverbed, moving fast and sharp, hot like oven breath. It rushed over the broken gate, across the sunken city, and over bones, stones, and cracked foundations. But this time, the wind carried something with it. A sound. A long, deep sound that was not thunder and not a machine. It was a trumpet. At first, it was low, like it was far off, but it grew louder and stronger, like it was coming from under the ground itself. People froze where they stood. Dogs howled. Birds vanished from the sky. Machines shut down without warning. And then the gate split wide open. No one touched the gate. No one dared go near it. It simply cracked in two, and a line of fire slid right down the middle. At first, the glow was red. Then it turned blue, and finally black. Blacker than night itself. It was not just a colour. It was a hole, like a rip in the world. Heat pulsed out from the crack, and from deep inside something stepped forward. It did not move fast or loud. It was just one step. The shape was not clear. It looked like smoke and shadow, too tall and too thin, with chains wrapped around its arms and fire burning inside its chest. Behind it, 3 more shapes followed. They stood side by side, just like the old dream said they would, just like the Bible said in Revelation 9. Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. They did not speak. They did not roar. They only moved, slowly and silently. But even without a word, the world changed. The wind blew harder, the sky turned orange. Dust storms battered cities miles away. People screamed in the streets. Lights flickered and went out. Phones buzzed with emergency alerts. And then stranger things started happening. In cities far from the river, water turned black for an hour. Birds smashed into buildings. Cows refused to eat. In the oceans, whales turned in strange directions. Bees left their hives and never came back. Above it all, a blood moon rose again, bigger and redder than before, hanging over the Euphrates like a giant watching eye. Some tried to explain it away. They said it was just weather, just a lunar event, just science. But the ones who knew prophecy did not need a telescope to see what was happening. They had watched the river drying up for years. They had read the verses. They had seen the warnings. And now it was no longer just words on an old page. It was alive. That same night, strange lights showed up in the sky. Not planes, not lightning, but spirals, eyes, horns, and faces that melted back into the clouds. People began gathering at churches, old churches, tiny chapels, even empty cathedrals. They prayed, some falling to their knees, some lifting their hands, some crying out loud. Deep inside, everyone felt the same thing. This was the end. But the end did not crash down all at once. It came slow. First, there was fire rain. In one village, small glowing embers fell from the sky. They did not burn skin, but when they touched plants, the plants turned black. Water boiled in the streams. Animals ran and would not stop. In another city, giant shadows moved through the streets, but no one could see what made them. Back at the Euphrates, the 4 beings had vanished. They were gone, but the gate stayed open. Steam rose from it day and night. The air shimmered like heat waves. The ground cracked wider, and somewhere in the rocks, the sound of chains dragging echoed. A pastor in Syria stood outside the ruins. He shouted to anyone who would listen, "The seals are broken. The trumpets have sounded. The king is coming." People thought he was mad, but then, right in front of everyone, he vanished. He did not run or walk. He was just gone. His Bible lay on the ground, left open to Revelation 16:12. The 6th angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. That verse caught fire online. People printed it, posted it, carved it into walls. More and more eyes turned to the river, and the clock was ticking fast. More bones rose from the muddy riverbed. More gates were found near the first one. Some were still sealed. Some had cracks running through them. Each gate had a star symbol on it. Some stars glowed faintly. Some hissed when touched. Then, near the first gate, something else appeared. A sword. It was not buried. It stood upright in the ground, as tall as a grown man. The blade was black along the edges, carved with flames and pulsed with light. Red, then gold, then black again. No one could touch it. One man tried and dropped to the ground where he stood. His body was not burned, but his eyes turned white and his lips moved fast, whispering something no one could understand, except one old woman. She had spent 60 years studying the Book of Enoch. She leaned close, listened carefully, and began to cry. She said the man was whispering this: "The watchers are free. The Nephilim return. The sun is at the gates." After that, no one else tried to touch the sword. Instead, people left gifts at its base: Bibles, candles, crosses. Some just stood nearby and cried. When the news finally broke the story, they did not tell everything, only enough to stir questions. They talked about a strange city under the river, unexplained tremors, and unknown fossils. But the people near the Euphrates already knew. The river drying was not an accident. It was a sign, a trumpet, a final call. And just before the end of the week, the last symbol appeared. It was carved deep into the dry riverbed, stretching wide, only glowing at night. It said, "He is coming." Now, the Euphrates is almost dry. The gates are open. The watchers are stirring. The blood moon has returned. Prophecy is no longer just written in books. It is walking among us. What if the watchers were never locked away at all? Hit like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for the truth they won't show you.